Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Founded in 1978, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, is the entrance examination board for tertiary level institutions, which conducts unified tertiary matriculation exams for prospective undergraduates. Over the years, the organization has been fraught with controversies of exam malpractices and financial fraud. Our guest this morning, Professor ISHAQ Oluyede, was appointed the registrar of JAMB in 2016. Since his appointment, he has introduced several reforms to the organization, raising the board's exams and administrative processes to a higher level. This morning, he will be telling us all we need to know about the upcoming UTME and the development of Nigeria's tertiary institutions. Prof, good morning. Professor Oluyede, good morning. Yes, welcome to the morning show, and thank you for...
Good morning. How is Lagos?
Yes, well, the weather is fine here in Lagos. I hope Abuja is also very fine. Prof, let's go straight to business. The mock examination for this year's UTME will be reaching on April 1, and then the main exam is scheduled for 11th to 18th April. Now, how prepared is JAMB for this year's UTME, and what are the kind of new things, innovations, new developments that parents, students, and other stakeholders should look forward to within the context of your attempt at reform since you assumed office?
Thank you very much. Yes, the mock examination will take place on the 1st, and our officers are already on the field, and we are very well prepared for the mock examination and the main examination. And you will see that today is about 4 days to the exam. Our officers are on ground, unlike in the past when they are on ground at the eve of the examination. We make this happen because we want to be sure that the few bad eggs among the operators do not destroy the work we are trying to put in place. And as regards efforts being made, we have discovered that some candidates are a problem, but the greater problems we have are the parents, and particularly the mothers. They over-pamper the students, and in the process, and as you have seen from elsewhere in the world, it's not just Nigeria, there is deficiency of parenting. There are people now want to introduce their children into the world of crime, right from the entrance into tertiary institutions. So we have put in place effective monitoring system that will make us view live from the headquarters, every step being taken at the center. And we have also demonstrated in the last 3 years that when an examination is computer-based test, the results can be ready instantly. It can, indeed, they can be shown on the television, on the screen. But what we want to do this year, having been able to show that it is not for lack of ability, we may not release the results immediately this year because of the system we have put in place, and some people will have to preview, to go through all the process, so that by the time we release a result, we will not be canceling the results again. Because the practice is we release all results, and when we now discover that somebody, maybe we didn't detect during exam, after exam we cancel such results. We feel that this year, let us try another way, that we conduct our examination, we take our time, 24, 48 hours after the examination. Then we have set some credible individuals whose duty apart from those who are watching live, who are going to preview what had happened and then give us a report before we release the result. One other aspect is that we have seen that a high number of candidates pretend that they have problem with their biometrics and therefore they will not be able to to enter the examination or to assess the exam unless they use what we call exemption mode. That is, we assume that they are the right person and they go ahead. That will not happen this year because we have also given enough notice that anybody who had problem with his fingers, let him come to Abuja at our own expense. And we have been able to do that to show that the large number of 3,000, 4,000, only 20, less than 30 of them were identified. And that is within the normal range, all over the world. But our own figure was abnormal, and we knew that some crooks had penetrated the system, and that's why they were doing that. They connive with the particularly private operators, connive with them, do margin of fingers and so on. This we will not allow. And to show that it is not arbitrary, many of them did not realize what we put in place this year at the point of registration. After registration, no candidate, apart from double screen, which we did, we took 3 steps that are related, but many might not observe. 1, every candidate types his or her name this year. It is not that somebody made mistake by my name. You type it on your phone and you send it to us, and we do not retype. It is as you have typed it. So the issue of somebody typing making mistake about my name, I want to change it, does not arise. We have also given you 6 weeks after typing, that even if you make mistake, assuming you will have checked your phone, oh, I made mistake, instead of H, I put M. We gave you 6 weeks to send tests to us to correct such names. And if after that time you now have mistake with your name, of course, it means that mistake must have been divine or devised by you. So nobody can claim that his name was mistyped by a typist because you type your name on your own. The second aspect of it is that when candidates finish registration at the CBT centers now, many of them did not realize the implication. They cannot print their acknowledgement form except with their thumb. It is to revalidate the form. You have filled the form, you have put your thumbprint, now you say print. The system will not print unless the person whose finger, whose thumb was used, put his thumb again, then it will be. If you can print on your own by your thumb, it means the issue of having problem with your finger, unless accident occurred after you have done that. And if the accident occurred, I think accidents are normal, and as I tell people, people suffer accident not because they cause it, but because they become inevitable. If somebody is traveling to Abuja and the flight is 2 o'clock, and I was hold up on Maryland, and you cannot meet the flight will leave. You wouldn't say because you had legitimate traffic on Maryland, then therefore the plane should be delayed for you. So you wait for the next flight. So anybody who by accident of history or by any reason could not join the train, there will always be another year. Okay, so the issue of waiving for anybody does not come. That's the second that many of them did not realize. The third one was that we created the screen, not just somebody helping you on the other side. We have double screens. As something is being typed for you, if you cannot type, you have a screen following you, facing you, and you have to confirm before submission. So all this we have put in place before during registration. We are doing all this in order to ensure that the few unscrupulous ones among us do not destroy the education system. We can assure us that for those who are genuine candidates, they will find out that the credibility of our examination, the credibility of the process is not in doubt. But for those who have been indulging themselves in some sharp practices, the end has come.
Mm-hmm. Well, Professor Oloyede, there are also genuine concerns about the introduction of technology into the examination process. I remember there were protests about computer-based tests because some of these children have never had to use computers from primary to secondary schools, and then at the point of JAMB, they are asked to use computers for these exams. And the issue of mock examination, you have registered about 1.9 million candidates for this year's UTME. However, only 157,000 have shown interest in that mock examination. Does this worry you? There seems to be a disconnect.
Thank you very much. It doesn't worry us because we planned it to be so. Not that 157 indicated interest. We limited them to 157. We advertised and we said first come, first served. We do not want to dissipate our energy conducting mock as if we are conducting the main exam. What we did was the first to indicate that he or she wants to take the mock, we give him or her the opportunity. And when the space available to us, was filled, then we lock them out. Not that definitely those who wanted to do mock, there are more than 70% of the candidates. But we do not want to repeat the examination, otherwise we'll just be wasting energy, wasting resources, and so on. That's why we say if you want to do mock, make sure you are part of the 157,000 to register. So we locked them out after 157. That I think that was about 6 or 7 days after the commencement of it was deliberate because we wanted one session to test the engine and to make the students know we do not want the whole examination to be repeated. Now, concerning the technology, you see, in many places all over the world, people who are incapable, they always look for reasons. They look for one reason or the other. Some of them are genuine, some are not genuine. In this case about technology, it is not genuine. Number one, you cannot want to go for tertiary education without some digital training. It means if you don't have some digital training, you are starting at the wrong point. You are starting behind others. It's just the thing, the in thing. But even in developed countries, the problems exist, but they find solution because we do not want to test their digital capability. We want to test their knowledge. And that is why we have done what will remove the problem, and that's what we call 9 key device. You do not need to know how to use the computer. Once you know how to use what Nigerians call SM, what do you call it? This telephone. We have one funny name for it in Nigeria. Mobile.
GSM?
GSM. GSM. This cell phone, which we call GSM in Nigeria. The cell phone, once you know how to use your cell phone, you have no problem with our examination. You don't need any mouse. You don't get to the examination. You know your number. Just A, B, 4, 9, 10, enter. Your questions are there. You don't need to touch any other thing. Then your question 1 comes up. If the answer is A, press A, and it goes to the next one. If the answer is D, press D. A, B, C, D is meant for the options in the answer. Then we now created someone that at least as you are going, you want to look what you have done. Press R. R will reverse you and will be showing you what you have done. If you want to go forward, that, oh, this question is very difficult, let me go to another one, press F. And this is on the screen. It's also on the paper in front of you. This line, and when you finish, you don't need any mouse. You want to submit, press S. But because some candidates, when we first started, maybe out of anxiety, when they press the S, they press it twice instead of once. Or they want to press it once, they press it twice. That's why we created another one that will make you that if you press submission, S, once, and it will not go, you say, are you sure you want to submit? You need to press Y. That is yes, I want to submit. Because some people, they just mistakenly press S and it is submitted. Now we have created a gap. That's why instead of 8 keys, we now have 9 keys for those who are not familiar with the mouse. But for those who are familiar with the computer, you use computer as normal. But for those who are not familiar with the computer, once you can use, if my great-grandmother were to be alive, I know she would be able to use her cell phone. And if that's the case, and if everybody, the educated, the not so educated, are using that, we have turned the computer that you are using into a cell phone that you do not, no excuse, unless you do not have the knowledge that you want to impact. Somebody using the mouse is not faster than you, it has no advantage because I'm not neither. So it's neither that is giving the mandate about training for computer. Mine is to test your ability in terms of knowledge, and that's why we have made this very easy. Any candidate, anybody who comes up with this idea of I do not, is because I do not know computer, I think that is wrong. But in addition to that, all these 700 plus centers all over the country, they are meant for, not just for our examination. After the examination, if you go to Britain, you may not have the opportunity, or UK or Russia or elsewhere, and because we are training global citizens, it's better for you as an undergraduate to learn how to do that. We have also provided such services, and there are communities and here and there. Recently, one former Inspector General of Police in Jigawa created many facilities, first-class facilities for students to go. And I know of politicians also, particularly when they were lobbying for election. One in Ogbomoso, there was a senator there who created some of these centers and they were using it. In Katsina, there was also one political personality there. People are now coming in to show that they love these students, whether for good or for bad, I don't know, but they are helping. Because by providing these facilities for the candidates, that reduces the excuse that I do not have the facilities, because some of our politicians, good for us, they are making these facilities available for training free of charge. Those who patronize crooks, they are the ones, there are crooks, there are some CBT, private CBT centers, established primarily to extort. They tell you they can get you questioned, the parents pay 250, 300,000 to them. They are crooks. They cannot give you any advantage, no added value, other than the fact that they are reaping the already corrupt individuals, because you wouldn't have approached them if you are not yourself corrupt.
Thank you, Professor. Still on the subject of technology, can you take us through one of your sweeping reforms in JAMB in that regard, the Central Admission Processing System, or CAPS?
Yes, thank you very much. CAPS is a double-edged device. When we started CAPS 2 years ago, even myself, I did not realize that it was going to be as revolutionary as it had turned out to be. The purpose of CAPS was just to automate the process. We did not, and we still do not want anything done under the table. And we felt that for transparency, anything we do in the admission process should be auditable. you should be able to call to question and say why and how, tracking the process. That was our primary purpose of establishing CAPS. And the second aspect of CAPS for us was that we wanted the institutions, the universities, the polytechnics, to have the opportunity on their own of initiating admission. Because we have so many cases where candidates will be admitted and they go to the institution and the institution said, no, we didn't recommend you to JAMB. How did JAMB come? And it will be wrong for JAMB to introduce candidates because the law establishing us say we should do it in collaboration with the institution. We will be overstepping our bound if we impose candidates on the institutions. So CAPS will not allow anybody but the institution to initiate a candidate. Not only that, some candidates will be admitted at the point of registration. The institution will say they are not registrable. Then they start bringing inferior candidates out. Now, what CAPS does is, before you recommend, initiate a candidate, you must have looked at all your parameters, your O-level, your combination, your UTME, any parameter by your Senate before you initiate. So when JAMB approves, there is no room for you to say the candidate is not registrable because you are the initiator of the process. So the idea, that's why admission goes on smoothly now, because we do not go in and go out. The other one is people travel so much from 849 institutions we have. They will be coming to Buhari and with attendance problem and so on. We believe that that was unnecessary. And that was why we automated. You stay in your university, in your college, in your university, process. In 5 minutes, you have the report. Because it goes straight into the system. As as the admission officer recommends to his head of institution, I see it on my table. And I can call the VC. 10 candidates had been recommended to you. Why are you not treating them? I said, no, no. He looked at it and said, oh, yes, it's true, I will do. Immediately it does, it comes to me. And I can call my own desk officer who is in charge. Why have you not cleared it? Oh, they have this problem. Then put it to them that they have the problem. If not, you approve. That's another aspect of it. But the byproducts is that we discovered that admission, so much deceit had been going on about admission, which was not our intended purpose to discover. People will say, yes, in my university, you have to have, every candidate must have mathematics and English with 5 level before coming in. Good. CAPS set it. Anybody who does not have it cannot be admitted. If you propose, it will not come. Then university started writing, no, we don't take mathematics for political, for geography, for history. We don't take it for art subject. We don't take it for, but you have said nobody can be admitted except through 5 level maths and English. We discover it's not true. We just sell that to the public. So now institutions are faced with reality because CAPS will prevent them from their candidates going in. Institutions now tell us exactly what they want. Colleges of education, we take 5 level, maths and English. I know it's not true. Okay, you said that's what you do. We set the CAPS. They now run back. We can't get candidates. How have you been doing? We don't, at times we take 4. Put it at level of 4 and let everybody who has 4 know that he or she can be taken. And some cases, they say no matter what you have, they created another obstacle. And they will say, your UTME combination, not O-level combination, but UTME subject combination. Say, good, that's what you want. You want chemistry, physics, mathematics for this subject, for UTME. Good, we set it at CAPS. Anybody who does not have it cannot be recommended by you. And many institutions now go, oh, we take this instead of this. Aha, then you set it for everybody. It is no longer selective. So CAPS gives us another unintended but positive result of showing reality that this is what is happening. And that's why you have 50% of the institutions writing for waiver that we waive this, we waive this, we waive that. And then once you waive it for everybody, not for people of your own choice.
Well, Prof.
Again, in CAPS, when you take CAPS today, you can explain why a candidate is not taken.
Prof.
If I am,
Prof.
as I am, if I am from Ogun State and I apply to the University of Ife and I cannot meet the merit, I have the opportunity of being considered for catchment. And if you do not pick me, and you now pick somebody from Enugu with the same score, JAMB will raise an alarm that this man is from your catchment state. You cannot drop him. So you can see it, and it's permanent. You don't need to, nobody can erase it. Even when you make comments, CAPS had created easy way of doing things, but it created some other problems. When people travel up and down, they have some advantages, ESTA code or whatever you call it, traveling allowance and so on. JAMB as CAPS had unfortunately eliminated that. And that is creating some problems that people already know that during an exam they will travel all over the country, they cannot travel. But my appeal to administrators of universities, you know what you used to spend on such traveling. Make 10% of such available to people who are sitting down and doing it there, so that it's not bribe. It is just to, you don't go from 0 to 100%. Let there be some palliative that people will know that, yes, I cannot make as much as that, but I can make this. Even my own staff, JAMB staff, who have to travel all over the country. When we are doing admission, we'll be moving from Calabar to Kaduna to, of course, with attendant expenses. Now they sit in their office and they do it. They get to their home, they do. Then they deserve some stipends. And that's why we are saying, and we are calling on all Nigerians to join us, that JAMB staff are underpaid. They are not supposed to be paid like civil servants because the enormity of the job they do. And 95% of them are clean and capable hands. If we do not pay them properly, they will go back to the old practice. And that's why we are moving to salaries and wages commission and so on to say, allow us to pay them. We are not asking from the public treasury. We are saying that from what we generate, let's increase. Let's pay them what State Fund pays, for instance. Let's pay them what UBEC pays, for instance, because we do not believe that these people work better than people in JAMB. So if you do that, anybody who now violates the rule, somebody who is a natural thief, you can now pick such person and deal family with the person. But if they are underpaid, then it's an attraction. It tempts them. It creates a temptation for even those who are not thieves to want to steal.
Prof, let me say this. I mean, you've received a lot of praise for your achievements since you assumed the office, both in terms of remittances to government, increased remittances, the reduction of the cost of UTME forms, the reforms that you have also introduced. But there have also been some criticisms, and I would like you to just respond, maybe to just two. One is the argument that, yes, whereas every year we see an increased number of applications for UTME, at the end of the day, only a small fraction, so the criticism goes, gets admitted into these institutions in terms of percentages. Second, you just talked about your staff. How much cooperation are you getting from your own staff? Because, I mean, JAMB under your watch has even had once to recruit snake charmers to respond to an issue about snake swallowing money and all of that. How much cooperation are you getting from your staff in terms of the reforms that you are trying to push through?
Yes, let me be very frank and sincere with you. And I take the second one first. Majority of the staff were not benefiting even when corruption was prevailing. They were not benefiting, they were not happy. Only very few were benefiting from it. And therefore, you find them ready hands because they are committed. The little that we are even able to do now, they appreciate. And such people do not allow, they don't even want anybody to say, even credit me for what I have not done, out of appreciation. But you have this other group who had, over the years, unduly benefited. You cannot do sufficiently for them. Even if you give 10% of what we earn or what we gather to them to go and share, it will not be enough because of their expanded throats. So such people are creating problem here and there, and it will be diversion. It will be diversionary for me to be going towards disciplinary action and so on and so forth. I find a way of putting such people aside, not because the time you need to go through disciplinary process, that you do this, only very bad cases that we know that we can no longer manage. Those are the ones, and there are very few, maybe 10, 15 in a year. We put those ones and we take them to court. We don't stop at sacking them. We insist on their being prosecuted because we have the facts before us. So those people, there is nothing we can do about them. Now to the second, and the summary of what I've said is that there is high level of cooperation, but we have to be vigilant because there are a few people who are going here and there selling. They want to discredit the system without telling you that it's because money was no longer flowing. If money was no longer flowing, like somebody was saying, why are you returning? Are you a money-making machine? Why are you returning money to the government? I did not increase the charges. And I thank the federal government for reducing the charge. And as I said, we charge the lowest fee anywhere in the world. I stand to be challenged up till now. Not that we were charging high fee. What we were charging was too much, as some people claim. It's not true. I challenge such people to tell me of any country in the world that charges as little as we charge for the entire. But in the magnanimity of the government, I think the government, the President Buhari was kind enough to say slash it from 5,000 to 3,005. And that, even with that, we will still make substantial return because we are not stealing their money. And the staff are not stealing, and that is why you can have the money back. So the people who are going about peddling rumor, I don't normally listen to them because you can't beat a child and expect the child not to cry. If somebody you have whipped must cry. And a way of crying is to go about selling falsehood. I don't care about such things, and we do what is right. Concerning this allegation that we take a fraction, I think such criticism are largely from roadside commentators. They have no knowledge. They are roadside commentators because they have no knowledge of what is involved. I give you an example. This year, in 2018, 1,793,000 applicants came in. Many people, they applied for UTME and direct entry. Many people would not realize that of this 1.79, 80% of these candidates are awaiting results who have no 5.0 level at all. They have no result at the time they were taking our examination. They are awaiting results. When you look at them after the examination, without looking at their O level, those of them who score more than 100 out of 400, they now come to 1,169,000. 600,000, which means about 600,000 had fallen out of the 1.7. Then you now go to their O level, upload your O level. Those who have the requisite O level, they will now fall. Many of them will have even 5 O level without a proper combination. Some maths without English, where maths is required. Some without English, or some. You now have about 800, 900 candidates who are qualified to be. So our 1.7, 1.9 in reality will come to about 900,000. Out of this 900,000, we admit about 600,000. We admit about 600,000. Now, we now ask question this year, the balance of 300,000, why are they not admitted? The first thing is JAMB was created because there was no enough space. If there were enough spaces in the institution, there would be no need for JAMB. If you go to UK to go and do your degree, they won't ask you for JAMB. UCAS, their own equivalent of JAMB, does not conduct exam. They only merely place candidates on the basis of their 5.0 level. It's because you do not have sufficient. That's why we are conducting ranking examination. Ranking examination. And that's why when some people are saying extend the tenure, ranking examination is not certification exam. It's ranking. You pull people who are available and you look at the space you have and you rank and you pick out of them. The 300,000 that we do not have, 60% of these 300,000 already have degrees. They have physics, bachelor's degree in physics, chemistry, any other thing. They only want to read medicine or nothing. Or they have in political science, they want to read law or nothing. So you find out, we now did the analysis and we discovered that if continue to create as many universities, the problem will exist. Unless you target the area and you create more universities of medicine, more specialized universities of law in areas where we have the shortfall. If you continue to create universities the way we are creating them, that will not address the problem, because the candidates that are standing to be admitted are largely from some areas where if you establish a university today, for medicine, maybe they are going to admit, maybe Medical and Dental Council will allow them maximum of 50. What is 50 in this figure we are talking about? So you need 10 universities to admit 500 to medicine. If you say you establish a new university, law, maybe maximum that Council of Legal Education will allow you will be 100. So you need to admit 100 of them, you need 10 universities. So what you need to do, in my own view, is to expand the faculties and departments where these highly demanded courses. I say they are highly demanded. It's not for nation, it's for personal interest. Because there are so many medical doctors today that have no paid employment. They are underemployed. They are going to Britain, going to everywhere and so on. Yes, we have shortfall of medical doctors. But even when you produce them, where are they going to work? Where are the hospitals? Even to have housemanship now is a lot of problem. So, but they want to satisfy their personal desire for education, and they have the right to that. So if we can strategically address that and expand departments, faculties, and create new, like you have this medical in Edo, University of Medical Sciences, you now have, I think, in Ondo, and if you can get people to create so specialized, they will mop up 60% of those others that you call, and you'll find out that we have problem, but the problem is not as gigantic as we present. And unless you are strategic about it, the solutions we are finding will be more problematic than the original problem.
Well, indeed. Professor Oloyede, Segun Adeni of the editorial board of our sister publication This Day had cause to meet you recently And he wrote an article about that encounter and some observations. Now, one of those observations caught my attention. It is the fact that JAMB staff are serving as teachers in schools. Tell me, because I'm intrigued, what was the objective of this? How many schools? And what really is the quality of Nigerian education from that project you've embarked on?
Yes, thank you very much. JAMB does certain things for its own interest, but the byproduct might benefit others. Part of our mandate is to set questions. We set questions for candidates who are coming in. And we have a department that is called Test Development Department. They participate in the setting the question, in moderating the questions, and so on. But I asked them when I came, which question are you setting? You are not in the field. It's just like somebody who read law and he sits in the office. He doesn't go to court. He doesn't read any legal law reports. And all he's doing is just what he had learned in the classroom. In order to set standard question, and when you see standard question to recognize, you must know the level of the candidates you are testing. And that was why we felt that as part of our corporate social responsibility, let us identify institutions around our headquarters, secondary school, where their result is not as good, because we won't pick the one that is the best. We want to pick the ones that the results are not yet good enough, so as to be able to measure the impact of what we are doing. So those who have those qualifications, those who studied those subjects, including education, we then ask them to go for training at the Teachers Registration Council, because we do not want to violate the law. If you are teaching anywhere or you make people teach and that person is not registered with the Teachers Registration Council, you are committing a crime. And we do not want to violate. Then we ask them to go for training at the Teachers Registration to be certificated, to certify them that they are qualified to teach. Then we now adopt schools, and we are going gradually. The number we have adopted, I think, 3 now. And we now say these 3 schools, our test developers will go there and they will teach. And they will know the level of the students, and that will influence their opinion when taking decision about the questions we are setting. Yes, universities, colleges of education, they now help us to set questions. But our own in-house experts will be useless if they are not on the field. And that is why we are asking them to go to the field. And we now give some support to those schools. Because if you set a deputy director who is used to the air conditioners in his office, you now send him to a secondary school where he was not even sure of availability of a seat, you are going to make him miserable. So that's why we now say, okay, where we are sending them, let's make the place comfortable for our own staff that will be going. Of course, others will benefit from it. And that's why we now, the board, under the chairmanship of Dr. Nduke, now decided that, look, let's get a committee, make those schools, improve the quality of the school so that the teachers can, and the result had been very marvelous. At the end of the exercise, we want to, one other thing they discover, in one of the schools, they will discover that 500 candidates will register at year 1. By the time they get to year 5, maybe about 450 of them are there. But when they want to take WAEC examination, 450 out of these, 400 will just disappear. They won't take exam in that school. Only 50 will take. The 400 will go and register in the rural area, and they will come with 5.0 level. So we now want to see, why are they leaving the school at the 500, at the final year? We now discover that because the school does not allow some manipulation. They don't want the school to destroy their children. So destroying quote, what they do is, okay, train them. When they get to that level, to register for WAEC, they say, we don't register here. They now go into places where they can have special centers. And what we are now doing is to now be able to track those centers and get their result back and be able to convince the examination bodies that look at these people. This person attended this school from so-so year to so-so year, but during examination, he went to this other place. Why is this so? So we did not set out, frankly speaking, to help other institutions. We want to help ourselves, that is JAMB. But in the process, we improve the system as part of our corporate social responsibility.
Thank you, Professor. While your current responsibilities are around admission to universities and other tertiary institutions, I'd like you to just give us your view, your assessment of our education sector as a whole, seeing as you were once a consultant for the National Commission for Universities and also Vice Chancellor of University of Ilorin. Can you just point out quite quickly some areas of review where we can have some quick gains in this sector?
I think we are moving. Things were bad, very, very bad with the education system. But I think some very, very courageous steps are being taken now. The major area, the current Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, created what he called Ministerial Strategic Plan, which, if followed properly, will take us out of the woods. But the major problem is underfunding. And the underfunding thing, in my own opinion, is also based on corruption. I believe that there are resources that could be tapped. If, for example, you say, okay, JAMB, you are able to generate, let's say with reduction, everything, we should still be able to have a surplus of 5 billion every year. Rather than returning 5 billion to government, return 5 billion to the Ministry of Education. You are saying that National Library, no National Library. Take the 5 billion this year to complete the National Library. Within the education sector, if we manage the resources that we have properly, and we know that education is a social service, we are not supposed to be generating or to be money generating. Whatever accidental income that we have, if there could be a law that will make us channel them towards solving some of the internal problems in the education sector, I think it will be better, because we now have a minister that has focus. He knows what he's doing, because maybe combination of journalism with accounting. But for whatever reason, he knows where he's going. If you allow such person to have the fund, and you are sure that it's not going to waste your resources, I think in the next 5 years, we will be, the Nigeria education system will be, people who are saying all sorts of things. You can see what happened in America recently, that the whole thing is a global thing, the admission scandal. We do not say that Nigeria is perfect, but we are not the worst. We are not as bad as some of us present ourselves. Even when it comes to corruption, the centers of corruption are generally among those people we call the developed world. We know that even our system here, they corrupt the system for us, and then everything. I think what is important is global, but we must clean our own aspect, our own side of the table. Let's make it clean. It does not for somebody to be pontificating and saying Nigerians are fantastically corrupt. who is more corrupt than those countries that are talking of being fantastically corrupt? They are the engine of corruption. But of course, if you have no wife, how would you complain of not having a witch? In Yoruba land, they say, if you don't have a wife, a witch will be good enough for you as a wife. So we have put ourselves in a situation that we are at their mercy, and therefore they can talk down on us the way they like. But I believe that what we should do is to give the support to the Minister of Education and provide the funding for it. Let us look for any legitimate means of getting resources to fund education and put credible people who will not compound our problem at the end of affairs. Well, I think that's the issue.
Yes, Prof, just quickly before we bring this to a close, I would like to take you back to the point you made at the beginning of this conversation about biometric verification. Recently, you said that yes, JAMB is going to conduct a revalidation of the biometrics of persons who sat for the UTME in the last, say, 10 or 15 years. How feasible do you think that will be, considering that many of these persons will have graduated, some of them will probably be occupying strategic positions in society now? Do you expect that anybody will cooperate or willingly submit themselves for revalidation of biometrics? And then JAMB is saying that for this year, from this year forward, that no biometric verification, no examination. Isn't that going to exclude yes, quite a number of candidates? And won't parents carry placards against you?
Yes, thank you very much. I am not afraid of placards by those who are genuinely offended. But I believe we have done enough to cater for the interests of the genuine candidates. The purpose of the policy is to address squarely a syndicate that had penetrated the examination bodies and system in Nigeria. I believe that there will be outcry, but at the end of the day, all persons who know what will happen will come to credit JAMB for what we have done. We don't need their cooperation because we are not inviting them to come and do their biometric verification. We already have the data with us. We want to show that there are professional examination writers where we will come out and we'll show you that this same person has conducted a written exam for 50 persons under 50 different names. They may be in high places today, but let's bring them out and say, look, you did not write your JAMB. This is the man who wrote it for you. And then from there we go on. If you have any contrary view, bring it out. We will be able, you see, I believe that we should learn lesson from US, from what the admission scandal going on there now. They are not trying to be ashamed and put the whole thing under the table. We shouldn't do that. Let us also open the whole thing up and show clearly that why we were telling people simply is that this year, you will find out that these 1.9 people that you are talking about, 400,000 out of them are fake. They are not students. And of course, we will start by showing that vividly. We come to public place, go to the television or television stations. Come, these are the facts. Call this man and let us see whether it was not the one who is bearing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. You will be shocked at what we have found out. So we are not afraid of that, and we will do it. And what we want to do is to do at least for 1 year, to start with 1 year. And if we have the time, in the next 3 months, we go to last year. In the next 3 months, we already have their data. All we are doing now is to merge the data and bring out identical fingerprints, identical pictures, and show you clearly that these people are crooks. And the evidence will be there because they collect a lot of money. That we know of somebody who had confessed that he makes not less than 16 million from parents. He collects just 250,000 per candidate, and he writes exam for them. And that's what he does for his life. So these are the type of people destroying the system. And the institution will register a candidate that was not the one who took WAEC, he was not the one who took JAMB, because the picture used for WAEC is not the one used for JAMB. It's not the one used at the institution. So they are playing on lack of synergy among the various institutions. And this is what we want to bridge. And by bridging that, you will see that it will throw out a lot of, it is left for the courts to determine what to do with them. If they like, they say, oh, go on and sin no more. But we will throw it out to let us know the level of decay and to be able to address the problem so that we do not continue to belabor ourselves with this false figure of 1.9 and 1.8, when we know that substantial number among this figure, they are not real students.
Well,
Somebody
Prof,
who will not be able to do one O level, but he has 5 O level. I was interviewing some people about 6 months ago, and I said, you have this 5 O level? He said, yes. 5, you sure? I'm not sure. I'm going to take some steps. The man said they arrange it for me. Arrange, what does that mean? Which means that somebody in the institution, in the college, arrange and sat for the WAEC examination or NECO examination, and the candidate who is, he later confessed that he did not take any examination. And here is the man with 5 O level. And you now go down and you say, Nigeria educational system is bad, they cannot speak good English, they cannot do this, not knowing that it is a product of corruption. It's not the system that is bad. Our curriculum is okay, NUC is doing fantastically well. But look at the gap. You admit somebody who was not the candidate, but that's his name, and you admitted him by the name, and he's a bricklayer somewhere, and now he's now an undergraduate, and he goes out and you say, this person, he cannot write his name correctly. How will he be able to write his name? When he gets to the university, he now looks for a lecturer who is hungry, and he looks for money, and he pays that man, and that man is helping me again. Where the teacher in secondary school stopped, the corrupt lecturer continues from there. So we are destroying the system.
Well, thank you very much, Professor ISHAQ Oluyede, for the light you've been able to throw on many of these issues. I'm sure that those going to write UTME exams will take note of all of this, and other stakeholders as well. It's time now for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll have the Arise News analyst, Emmanuel Defeni, joining us with a review of the top stories in today's newspapers. Stay with us.